How do you handle negative entities or energies during a session? How do you handle negative entities? Great question. This on your Reiki journey may never happen to you. You may never have a session in which you feel something is weird or off, or that there is some kind of malignant or bad energy. You may never, ever have a session like that. And it is common to not have a session like that. But you may hear from Reiki practitioners who do, who have been visited by negative energies or entities during a session, or who have sensed them, or maybe who have even felt something physical like pulling on their own energy. This can happen. And it can happen, even outside of a Reiki session. So when we talk about negative or bad energy and we get worried about that happening to us during a Reiki session, what we often don't think of or realize or recognize is that other people's energy can impact us at any time, and quote unquote negative energy can impact us at any time. When you're standing in line at the grocery store and the person in front of you is very impatient, they're checking their watch, checking their phone, tapping their foot, come on, let's go. You can feel that, right? And sometimes that doesn't feel good. And sometimes you're just like, ugh, get away from me. I don't want that on me. And that's just at the grocery store. That's even outside of a Reiki session. And so know that when we talk about bad energy, negative energy, or even entities, that indeed that can happen outside of a Reiki session. And so for anyone who is interested in Reiki and in practicing, but you're like, oh, I'm so afraid of picking up negative or bad energy. Well, the truth is that can happen anywhere. It can happen anywhere. Just like you could pick up a virus anywhere, just like you could pick up bacteria anywhere. So know that that is possible. But here's the thing. When we strengthen our own energy and we cultivate our own energy, it's just like staying healthy and warding off viruses and bacteria by improving our own physical health, mental and emotional and spiritual as well. It's the same kind of thing with negative energies and entities, where as we cultivate our own energy, as we focus in on bringing our own high vibes and staying high vibe, that we indeed can really do a lot to not pick up negative energies that might be around us, and to instead focus on, bring, and cultivate the positive energies and being a positive entity. When we talk about negative entities, we might forget that we could indeed be the negative entity ourselves. Like attracts like, right? And so if we find that we've got a lot of low energies around us, a lot of negative energy is attracted to us, we're always finding negative entities everywhere, I think at some point we have to ask ourselves what kind of vibe we're bringing and how are we showing up in the world, and are we making sure that we are working to bring more and more love and compassion and to bring more and more love and light. And so I think it's important for us to ask ourselves those kinds of questions when we're afraid of picking up bad energy, when we're afraid of meeting entities in sessions, and when we're afraid of attracting them and knowing what to do with them. So I really want to encourage us to really, first and foremost, always focus on our own energy. And always focus on the love and the light that we are bringing in not only our Reiki sessions, but in each moment. Because actually, a Reiki session, we think of it as something very self-contained, and everything outside of the Reiki session is outside of the session. But the truth is that we as Reiki practitioners are always showing up in a session as ourselves. And so it's not like once we start sending Reiki, boom, we're automatically no longer ourselves. we are bringing the person who we are outside of Reiki. And so it's important for us to, I think, be mindful of and ask ourselves, how are we showing up outside of our sessions? Because all of that contributes to the energy that we bring to the sessions. Now, you can bring amazing, wonderful, love and light energy to your sessions, and you can indeed still sense some negative energy. You can indeed still feel that something feels off. I am here to give you permission that if at any point during a session something doesn't feel right and you don't feel comfortable, you're allowed to end the session. Just like your client is allowed at any point to say, hey, I'm done here. This doesn't feel comfortable. I don't feel good with this. Just like they are allowed to do that at any point, so are you as the practitioner. And so if at any point you just don't feel comfortable, maybe you feel like there's some negative energy there or an entity like pulling on your energetic field, whatever it might be, you're allowed to stop. You are allowed to stop the session. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, there are lots and lots of practitioners who are going to give you all kinds of tips and tricks for grounding, protecting, shielding, sending the entity to the light, sending it to the river, sending it to the drum. If you got a drum, drums are great for things like that. So's water, so's light. But, you'll find all kinds of tips and tricks and encouragement and methods and processes for ridding the negative entity, sending it away, clearing your own energy and all of that. So I won't go into all of those possibilities because those are actually all very much on a personal level and what resonates with us. I personally am a big fan of Archangel Michael, and if I sense anything that seems off, I will call Archangel Michael in. But the truth is that I rarely ever have this happen in a session. Yep, maybe some things will come up. Yep, maybe I'll see some images or sense some energy, and I just send Reiki. I call in an Archangel. Archangel Michael is my fave for stuff like that, and I just send Reiki. Again, if you don't feel comfortable, you can stop the session and it's okay. At this point, some Reiki practitioners would tell you, make sure that you disconnect, make sure that you cut any cords, make sure that you throw salt on you, and make sure that you do whatever. That's all okay, whatever you feel called to do. But just know that it's very much a personal call and what feels right to you in that situation. But bottom line, if you ever don't feel comfortable with a session, it's okay to stop. It's absolutely okay to stop. And you can say to the client, hey, I'm sorry, I have to stop right now because I'm just suddenly feeling uncomfortable. Are you doing okay? Are you feeling okay? And check in with them. Maybe everybody take a drink of water and just take a few breaths and check in with one another. And that's all okay. There's no rule that says once you start a session, you got to keep going and you can't quit or Reiki ain't going to work. That sure ain't true. So feel that out, both literally and figuratively for yourself and your own experience. Again, there are lots and lots of recommendations on that. I'm a firm believer in first and foremost raising our own vibration and keeping our own vibe high. And I'll drop a link in the comments to one of my YouTube videos on the Standing Stones Healing YouTube channel, a Q&A question I answered about protecting yourself from negative energy. And so I'll drop that in the comments too, that you can check out as well, so that you've got some more thoughts on keeping your own vibe high. So I'm sending lots of blessings and best wishes to indeed keeping your own vibe high.